What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about some of the things that we're going to have to do to get Dad's car to work before we have to tune it. If you don't already see this mess behind us, I will explain to you what we got going on and what we need to do to be successful. So stick around, hit that like and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get on into it. So first things first, let me go up underneath the car here and show you what we got going on. So as you already know, this is my dad's 88 speed density turbo system. And we no longer have a transmission in here right now, and we have a gas tank that's not installed. One of the major reasons why we don't have these items in here is because there's a couple things. If you haven't already checked out this video where we went to the dyno shop, we made some decent power, but as you see on the graph, it doesn't read correctly and we have issues. So I'm here today to talk to you about the things that we're gonna do to make that stuff work. I'm telling you, this stuff's gonna work. I just forgot a couple of important details. Now, if you remember back in the day, you know, we had, this system was set up on an FMU, and that's what FMU was, old school technology from back in the day. And we explained about FMU in this video here and what it does and how it works. But one of the major details I left out of that video and I completely forgot about with Dad's car is the FMU is old tech, but it also is missing a piece of the puzzle. Back in the day, when you dropped your tank and you put a different fuel pump in, they didn't have the technology like they do today. Putting a pump in your car, I think the most they had back then was like a Walbro or Holley 255 or 225 or whatever. Well, the pumps weren't very big. So now, fast forward to 2022, you have plenty of options at this point. I think the pumps are up to 450 now. I think some of them are 525 or like Hellcat pumps. They got double pumps, triple pumps. You got a lot of big technology and pumps that can actually pump fuel. But one of the old school FMU pieces that were part of the puzzle was you only had about 225, 255 was the maximum fuel pump. You were still on shitty wiring, which didn't really support enough of the power in the pump anyways. But the one thing that I missed out on, and I forgot to mention in the video, is there used to be a booster pump that helped pressurize the system for the FMU. So one of the major reasons for having an actual kidney bell booster pump and not having the technology for the stronger pump is to get more fuel to the FMU and to raise the fuel pressure. Now, why is that important at all? Well, it's really not important because at this point in age, this is kind of irrelevant, but this is stuff that I want to actually explain to you and teach to you. The FMU requires good pressure. So when we went to the dyno, we were reading lean, 12.7, 12.5. That's pretty lean for a boosted application, but we were at 10 degrees, we had good fuel in it, and I kind of knew that I needed to take baby steps into trying to make power with an untunable speed density system. So what are we gonna do today to rectify that? And this is what we're here to talk about. Naturally, I pulled my tank out because I had a leak. It wasn't a leak in the tank itself, I had a gasket problem in the leak. And I always have a drain on my tank, so it was kind of nice that I didn't have to actually cut a hole in another tank. We ended up pulling out of our box an old school 340 pump. This was actually the pump that was in my black car for many years. And you can see that I have it wired with two 10 gauge wires that quick connect to a relay system. Now, some time ago, I made one of my best videos, I think, with the Feed the Beast video, which you can see here. Anyways, this video basically went step by step for the most part on how to modify your hanger like I did here, how to install the pump and wires, and how to run a relay system on your Foxbody Mustang to get more fuel. Because it's very important on your Mustang, when you're running big pumps like 340s and 450s and whatever, that you actually wire them with a good power source. And usually this is piggybacked with doing like a 3G alternator conversion. That's huge because you get more power to the pump, making it pump way more efficiently, pumping more fuel basically than a pusher pump or a booster pump like Kenny Bell, if you remember those. So what's the plans for Dad's car right now, and what are we gonna do to fix it? On that dyno graph as well, we noticed that the clutch was slipping. We noticed that the clutch, I put a Centerforce disc in with a Spec 2 Plus pressure plate, and it didn't really work out for me like I had thought it would. So we decided to give Andrew Hanlon a call, and we decided to talk to Ram. And a while ago, they had sent me a a Power Grip HD. Sorry it's dirty because it's been dusty, but they sent me a Power Grip HD. So we're gonna try a single disc Power Grip HD from Ram, and we're gonna see if that clutch can hold the torque and the horsepower of this simple turbo. That dyno graph definitely showed a lot of clutch slippage, and you could hear it actually in the pull when we started making pulls. So we got a number of things going on here. We cleaned up the flywheel a little bit because it wasn't that old to begin with. We had to reseal some of our flywheel bolts. If you remember, I was having a problem with that shifter. That shifter we had in here was actually an old shifter and it didn't shift very well. So we got one with a good stop on it now, good Pro Volt 5.0 shifter that was donated to the channel by Handle Motorsports. So make sure you check those guys out. We got a shifter change, we got a clutch change, we got a fuel pump upgrade, we got the 3G alternator conversion that we're gonna actually do for Dad's car. Is that gonna be enough to make this car work like it was supposed to, like I had planned on it? I guess we'll just find out, right? So this whole video today was to catch you up to the ideas on what we got going on and what we're gonna do to be successful. So I'm not really gonna show you how we're installing this stuff, but I will show you a couple time lapses as we go. We're gonna get the tank in the car really quick. We're gonna get the pump and everything set. We're gonna run the wiring. I'm gonna get this transmission installed with this new clutch setup. And we're gonna move to the front and set the wiring for the pump. There's a lot of things. We got so much stuff going on, it's ridiculous. One of the most hated bolts on a Foxbody. Oh, I hate you, old starter bolt. All right, so real quick, I got my pump set in there, and you know it's already been wired as you've seen earlier in the video. You know, we did a new sending unit for the most part with a new harness. This is factory, nice clean one, because this one, like I said, this had a rubber problem and a whole rubber chunk was missing, which is why we were leaking gas. And there was connections that were messed up here, so that wasn't very nice. So probably the reason for our sending unit not working. So we're gonna go ahead and zip tie, and that way it's kind of out of the way. Ran or whatever, and then I can go under the car and do it. So as you see behind me, we got the tank up in there. It's all nice and tight. Everything's ready to go. Got my wires out here ready to go for connections for the ground and power. My drain's set up, it's good. And my lines, etc. So pretty sure we are ready to run a 10 gauge, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do it. That other wire we had over there, that 4 gauge, had a 200 amp fuse in it. That was just too damn much. So I bought another mega fuse for 100, the 100 amp, which is about right. You know, if you get a big surge, it'll at least pop it and be good. So I got some quick connect for 10 gauge. And of course, this, you know, just a cheap little 30 amp relay. I'm gonna set up the fuse right next to it with 10 gauge slip-ons and all 10 gauge And what I mean by transition, it's just like, you know, I'm not going to run a fuse that has a 30 amp fuse on it that's like a 14 gauge wire or a 12 or 14 or 16 or whatever. I want that 10 gauge power from the power source to the fuse to the relay to the pump. You see what I mean? So I want all that wiring, and with the 3G, with it being connected right to the 3G 4 gauge wire, that thing's going to give some great power. So I think we can jack the fuel pressure up and give us some more fuel. You know what I mean? Let it help the FMU out. Let's see if the 19s actually spray well above their capacities. But tomorrow, we're going to be coming back in here tomorrow where I'm going to do a 3G alternator conversion on it, run the wire. We're pretty much ready for the dyno again, because that's basically what we're doing. We're trying to get back to the dyno. I've already got a date next week with Kevin, so we're going to be hitting the dyno again, and you're going to see if my wiring upgrade, my pump upgrade, my clutch upgrade is what the car needed. So stay tuned. I know it's a long video. I will see you guys tomorrow, but we'll finish this out.
The grommet right there, you see it? It's kind of a mess, but not really. I got everything tagged, got it screwed in here, zip tied so it doesn't move. Just got to hook this into the signal wire over here. That's part of the harness. That's from the key, which doesn't bear any voltage. And I got a 10 gauge from the front, including grounds, which I bolted to the body.
All I got to do is run the wire to the front, tag it. It's already fused back here, so on a 30 amp, same as it matches the relay. You know, I can put the fuel in it and fire it up and mess with the clutch a little bit. But you know, we're gonna head over to O'Reilly's where I bought the alternator. We're gonna install it really quick, and this car's done. Big 3G alternator upgrade, including the harness, clutch upgrade. Got to break it in, and a huge pump upgrade. Guys, this is gonna make a huge difference. Watch, you'll see. Hell yeah. All right, YouTube, so we're getting close to the end of the video, and we're gonna do a fuel pump test, which we just heard. I think it'll be no problem. Our wiring upgrade and our 340 pump is complete at this point. So we're gonna test the pump, make sure it fires the car, and then we're gonna check the clutch, make sure it moves the wheels, etc. And then we're gonna move into the 3G alternator, show you how to do a 3G alternator conversion in 60 seconds. So stay tuned for that video too. So let's check this out. All right, let's check the clutch. Let's spin the wheels. Clutch feels good though. Foxbody 3G alternator conversion in 60 seconds, starting now. Unplug battery, Foxbody 75 amp alternator. Remove factory harness. Removed said belt. Best works with aftermarket alternator bracket. Remove factory alternator. Install 94 Mustang alternator. Install desired belt length. Route desired belt length. Acquire variable 8 to 10 foot 4 gauge wire with connection. With inline mega fuse. Install one end connection to the solenoid power side. Safely wrap and tuck wires under car up through the alternator stud. Attach other end to stud. Acquire factory harness again. Peel back factory harness. Snip factory harness at this junction. Snip white wire. Becomes stator wire. Jump. Create stator wire connection. Create connection. 10 gauge wire. About a foot back. Wrap connection in the one black wire with orange stripe. Connect the D plug. Connect the stator wire. Connect the 10 gauge with the stud. All right, guys, 3G conversion complete. Hope you guys. YouTube, that's pretty much all I got for you for this video. We did big upgrades. We did a shifter base, Pro 5.0, so shout out to Hamlin Motorsports for the fit shifter base. We changed over to the Power Grip Ran HD clutch, which should be plenty of clutch for this car. 340 big wire pump upgrade, which will help the FMU. So the last things we got to do before we hit the dyno, we're going to hook up the fuel gauge, and we're going to jack our pressure to 45 without the vacuum. I appreciate everybody for watching. If you are interested in giving some support to the channel, we got a merch shelf below. There's a handful of channel perks for that join button below. So I encourage you guys to check that out as it supports the channel to be able to do things like that. But outside that, guys, I appreciate you watching the channel and watching this video. I'm excited to get this thing back in the dyno and make some more power, speed density. We're not shooting for the moon here. We're just making experiments. So stay tuned.